Okay, so if you saw one of my last videos a little while ago, you saw me sketch this while I spoke incessantly about the Devil May Cry Netflix anime, which I thought was good. But, like every overly obsessed fan that is also a creative, I had plenty of ideas on how it could have been perfect. I mean, look, it's my favorite game. I was bound to talk about it on this channel at some point. Oh boy, let them drop a DMC 6 at some point. Brother, the second they announce that game, I'm probably going to be all over this channel saying anything and everything I can about it. Ugh. Hey Capcom, hire me real quick. I can voice act Devil May Cry, I promise. Devil May Cry. Yeah, we're gonna just leave that there, and then somebody from Capcom is gonna get a hold of me and hire me. It's not happening. Hey, we'll make it happen at some point. We'll shoot for it. Capcom, hire me. I'd love to be a voice actor for Devil May Cry. Do something. I'll do anything, please. Regardless of all that, you noticed that this art I did was garbage. Yeah, I said it. But there's a reason why. There are a few sketches in that video, but there was only one that I settled on and colored. Realistically, if you've been here, you know that this is not the height of my ability and probably wondered why I stopped short. There are a few more of you here now, so if you haven't had a chance to catch up, hello, I'm a duck, and I generally produce art like this, and most recently, this. Check out the journey when you get a chance. So I'll explain real quick why the art looks like this. I stopped in the ugly phase. Some of you might feel like that's a lie. While I appreciate your positivity, this is carved into my mind and won't go away until I fix it. Something you have to understand is that the ugly phase of your art is different for everyone. We all mostly start in similar places within our preferred medium, but eventually our uniqueness takes over. This is why the fundamentals matter so much, by the way. The better your start is, the easier your time might be in the ugly phase. The key word here is might, because sometimes the ugly phase is just ugly regardless of what you do. So you start, the unique style begins to take form, you're happy with it. Once you reach a certain point, it seems like there's a peak. Then things start to go downhill. This is only temporary. Yeah, lots of people talk about not being able to get past the ugly phase, and I get it. It's kind of one of those really tough spots to be in, because you feel like you've ruined your art, or that any more work will be an overcorrection. Honestly, I don't think any of that's true. This is part of the building blocks for when I created the study method. If you haven't seen any of that, click this playlist up here and start learning how to steal art secrets with us from our favorite artists. When creating art, there are a couple of different phases for me. I start my process, I get through the sketch, and back when I was a traditional artist, I used to try and get every little detail of the line art perfect. That was the height of my art for me. I would just do the line art. I would never color because in the past, coloring would ruin the work that I put in. That was a mistake because I just did not progress. But after becoming a digital artist, I realized that there was a whole different aspect of my art that I wasn't exploring before. I always wanted to be able to color and not mess up my line art, and I figured I would have to do something very specific to be able to achieve that. At one point, I was even steered away from trying digital art by some people that told me I wasn't ready. That turned out to not be the case because we all learn differently. Side note, don't let anyone tell you that you aren't ready for something when it comes to creating. Some might disagree with me here, but just like I said before, we all learn differently. Some of the people who told me that I wasn't ready for digital art back then might have meant well at the time and were clearly meaning that I should work more on my fundamentals so that my rendering phase would come out better. But that's not what they said, and that's not how I took it. I either thought I wasn't good enough or that I had to prove that I was good enough. Why didn't you just do it anyway? 1, I was young and more impressionable, and 2, I did. But the fact is, I still needed to work on my fundamentals. In a way, they were still kind of right, but not about what I thought. This is what I find fascinating about people and communications. I had multiple people at the same time tell me the same thing, and they all knew what they meant and what they were trying to convey, yet the lack of clear expression had me take it in a completely different way. Now, this isn't completely on them. It actually says a lot more about who I was at the time. I should have been more intuitive about my progression and what they saw missing in my work. It's easy for me to see this now, but it definitely wasn't back then. I dabbled in digital art anyway, and it was fun, but I wasn't introspective enough to build my own progress. Eventually, when I did decide to venture back into digital art with a much more mature and seasoned mindset, I saw what I was missing and immediately started making my own curriculum. So, don't let anyone tell you that you aren't ready. Have them tell you why. Let's be clear about this. If you don't want to color your art, you don't have to. There's nothing wrong with being satisfied with the line art and a bit of shading. However, if you know that you eventually want to see your art come to life with beautiful hues and shades, you've got to take the risk. You might feel like you've completely ruined your art after getting into it. I would say this is untrue. You can easily salvage your art, especially if you're operating in the digital space. Now, if you're doing traditional, you're going to have to fully throw caution to the wind. Don't be afraid. The thing that I love to remember is that you made it once, so you can do it again. Yes, it's true that if you recreate the thing that you made before, it's not going to be the same, but I think that's the beauty of art. That's how you can tell your passion is real, because the loss matters. The more my skill level rose, the more comfortable I became with that loss. The art will be different and it will surprise you, but you have to take that step with confidence. That's gonna be for every little bit of art you make. Once you've sketched, lined, eventually colored, and reached the ugly phase, there are a few things you have to keep in mind. These are 2 things that keep me on track. Before I tell you what those are, though, let's understand what we're dealing with. So, what is the ugly phase? What is it really? The ugly phase of your art is the point of your process that you are the least confident in. It usually happens when fundamentally changing what type of art you're creating. The example in my case is right before the rendering phase, so coloring. Like I mentioned before, everyone's ugly phase is different. For some, it could be adding values or shadows. For others, it could be colors, like me, and even rendering. I'm sure that there's someone out there that feels like their ugly phase is adding the shiny aspects towards the end, but don't let it discourage you. Think of it like solving a puzzle. It's okay to not know what to do next. You just have to be willing to try something. This is where those 2 things I mentioned before come in. The reason I needed to explain what the ugly phase was first ties to the fact that we tell other artists these things all the time but don't provide context to it. Here they are. The number 2 thing, it won't be perfect. And the number 1 thing, trust the process. We say this one all the time to people, but let's really talk about why this is pivotal. Your art will never be perfect. Accept that. What matters in the end was the journey and if you're satisfied with your work. You're not going to be satisfied with anything by holding yourself to an impossibly high standard. If I constantly compared myself to Sam Does Arts, Ergo Josh, and Ross Draws, I wouldn't be able to progress at all. These guys are who I look to currently, and I see them as my mentors. anyone can be a mentor, regardless of whether they're older, younger, man, woman, duck. It doesn't matter. What matters is whether you can gain something from their experience. Let's be clear, this is not me saying that I won't be at their level one day. If anything, I have the ego to aspire standing alongside them. They aren't going to make it too easy though, because they have their own goals, and I wouldn't have it any other way. I want to learn as much as I can from everyone in this space, not just those three. I mean everyone. Maybe someone is a better artist than you. Maybe they capture details in their rendering process that you would never dream of. Once you see that, take it and try your best to recreate it. Build your process, then trust it. Trust yourself to implement what you've learned. If you're an artist in any capacity, you have something to offer to the creative space. You are more than just your line art, colors, or renderings. Don't let imposter syndrome stop you. It's up to you to showcase what makes your art unique. Guys, this is a very important topic to me. Bringing this whole thing out, like talking about the ugly phase of art, I realized that this is something that I really wanted to talk about. Actually, while I was doing that sketch initially of the Dante art. By the way, I hope you guys love the difference because I definitely do. I do this all the time with my art, and I mentioned it in a recent recording, looking at step 1 of the art and then looking at like step 1000, because there's so much I do to my art in between, and this was a huge showcase of that, looking at this Dante art and understanding like, yeah, this sketch, this is not the end. I should definitely stop right now with a little bit of color, and I should post this video and see, like, you know, be able to do another video showing the difference. I love how much I was able to do with this piece. And, you know, I hope you guys liked it too. Listen, if you are struggling with how good your art is, thinking that your art just isn't up to par, I think you're looking at this whole thing wrong. Art is a sport. Kim Jong-gi said it. Art is a sport. But that doesn't mean that you can't enjoy where you are, that you can't enjoy your bracket. Because if you're not enjoying it, then you're probably not going to, you know, have the drive to get better eventually. I think enjoying the process, enjoying the grind, enjoying the new things, that's the big thing about art for me. I love being able to kind of just puzzle solve and create my own way into making something visually appealing. And, you know, if you guys like my art as I'm creating that, then that, you know, that just makes it all the better. I'm not this huge, amazing artist on, you know, social media. I make the stuff that I like. And yeah, no, I really like the fact that people are doing this everywhere. You know, it's not just me, it's not just Ross or Sam or Ergo Josh or anybody like that. We're all kind of a huge community just creating things. With that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed the finalization of this piece. I definitely did. And if you guys want to see some more Devil May Cry art, let me know, because I can do art for any character in Devil May Cry. In fact, I'm back and forth on whether I should do that or go ahead and start the next study that I'm supposed to have already finished. With that being said, I'll see you soon.